What's going on? What's going on? It's the Canary Radio. And we have a new guest joining us. He was the Red Knight from the movie Cable Guy.
Red Knight's going down. That took on a life of its own. By the way, my name's John. I'm John Ferdinand, like Ferdinand the Bull. So we're traveling right now with my buddy. We're on a 9-day adventure trip. We're going all through the desert Southwest. We're looking at all this stuff, all the Anastasia, what they call the ancient Puebloans and all these things. We're out of Las Vegas. But it's called Wild Bull Adventures. So that's what we're doing. We don't have a blog or anything else, just kind of the thing we did. Because back in the day, I used to race motorcycles. We were Wild Bull Racing. You always got to have a name, right, and stuff like that. So it morphed into Wild Bull Adventures, where we are. But, yeah, the Cable Guy was interesting. Me and the gentleman sitting over here, you guys can't see, obviously, because it's a podcast. But this really ugly guy over here.
He's handsome, I can affirm.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what I have to deal with, you know. But everybody tells him that, too. It's very disgusting. I have to throw up all the time in my helmet. But anyways. And he's on a BMW, so I try not to hold it against him. I'm on a KTM, if you guys know anything about motorcycles. That's where we're traveling through. But the Cable Guy, me and him ended up starting years ago. We were a place called Medieval Times. I hate to give them props, but, hey, we live there and we work there, so that's the way it is, right? They got them all over the country and stuff, so it's a medieval show. But needless to say, Columbia Pictures came in, and they were doing this movie called The Cable Guy. It was Jim Carrey's first foray in kind of like, let's call it dark comedy, right? He was going to do that. Plus, he's getting paid $20 million for this movie. Just an incredible thing, right?
We'll do that.
Yeah, exactly. You and me both. I'll take a percentage of that, right? And Ben Stiller was directing it. Right?
Fantastic.
And you had Matthew Broderick. And I hate to say this about you, Matthew, but you're one of the most uncoordinated, most unathletic people I've ever met in my entire life. But, you know, it is what it is. He was a great guy. He was a lot of fun to be around. But it was just kind of funny because trying to teach him how to sword fight. I'm talking about Matthew Broderick. And trying to teach him how to sword fight, like I said, he was severely left-handed. Severely left-handed is what they call it.
Hey,
So.
it's left-handers
It's
day.
left-handers
I know,
day
that's why I'm
today.
saying that. That's
amazing.
awesome because my buddy's sitting right over there. He's a left-hander. That's another thing I try. That's probably why you buy a BMW. I think they have left-handed control or something. Like I said, I'm on a KTM, so I'm a real man. You know, I eat dirt and I drink whiskey, so that's the way it is. But, yeah, it was kind of interesting. We went to film that at Columbia Pictures. Like I said, they cast me and another guy named Greg Hopla. And I'd worked with him for years. We'd done TV shows together and commercials and stuff. Actually, me and this guy over here, we were in a Budweiser commercial. Of all things, I know Bud Light's a big deal in the media right now, right? Well, back in the day, they had that all-American persona and stuff like this.
A lot of Budweiser commercials filmed here in Southwest Colorado,
which is painful
Super
because this is
Bowl,
Coors. This is Coors Land, right up here, Mount Sneffels, right? That was the original can.
That's the Coors Mountain.
Original can, right?
Outside of Telluride.
outside of Telluride.
Right? Well,
The
that's where they
original
refilmed
can,
it, right?
Right,
Well, up here, Mount Sneffels, right? All that stuff. So, anyways, but yeah, we came in. They cast us. It had nothing to do with Medieval Times, but they thought so. Ben Stiller and Jim Carrey and all these guys showed up, and they saw Medieval Times. They thought it was the most ridiculous thing they'd ever seen. It was this over the top. Because, you know, you guys, the typical flipping your hair back and just melodramatic, right? Well, my acting style has always been realism. Like if you're gonna do a medieval, like you're gonna do a fight with me, a stunt fight, you better strap it on because I'm gonna come after you.
Yeah,
now, am I gonna ultimately kill you? No, I understand the business, but at the same time, like I had a guy, a psychologist, one time tell me that your brain doesn't understand the difference between, because they had worked with a lot of soldiers. I'm not equating the fact that I'm a soldier at all, not any way stretch of imagination, but they were equating the fact that your brain doesn't know. When you make it so real for yourself, you don't know. So basically, I'm a mass murderer. I've killed millions and millions of people, right, in all these battles and stuff like that. So it's just kind of an interesting thing. Anyways, we came in there. We're going to do the Cable Guy. And they just thought it was the most ridiculous thing they'd seen with those over-the-top stuff. But Ben Stiller, and I can't remember the lady's name that he was dating at the time, but they came in there like, you're the most real guy we've seen. We want you in the movie because this thing's so ridiculous, but we want a little bit of realism to it, right? So he hired me and Greg to go in there. Like I said, me and Greg had done Good versus Evil, and we were evil warlocks, and that it was a sci-fi show and all these other things. And the Budweiser commercial, I'll get back to that. So the Bud Light commercial, we came in there, it was right after Braveheart, and it was for the Super Bowl. So, you know, you can take our beer, but you can't take our lives.
Right.
It's kind of one of these things, right? So we went in there, and we'd done that. Me and this guy over here, we'd done it because of our equestrian stuff, because I didn't grow up around horses. It just came natural to me. So it was one of the things. So I got my Screen Actors Guild card, my SAG card, because of my horse skills and weapon skills. Like, we've been gladiators and you name it, right? Cowboys, just everything, all the way to modern James Bond type stuff and everything else. So we go in there to film this scene, and we've been waiting. And, of course, you had all the people. They're doing their scenes. So they start getting to the medieval scene. They're doing this stuff. And me and Greg go out to film our scene. Well, we did this whole thing on these Andalusian stallions. I don't know if you know anything about Andalusian stallions. Come from Andalusia, Spain. They're usually $250,000 to $300,000. Just magnificent horses. Meaner than hell. I don't know how much I'm allowed to cuss on this podcast.
Go for it.
But meaner than shit. And beep beep, yeah. And they either want to fight or have sex. So it's just kind of interesting, right? And so we do this whole fight sequence and stuff. We do this on a horseback fight with swords. We get on the ground. We do the bola, the ball and chain and swords and all this stuff with shields and everything, and film that whole scene. We get done with that. And the whole time, Jim Carrey's just sitting there looking at me. He'd already filmed the Red Knights going down, all this other stuff. And I just thought it was funny. Didn't know it was going to take on a life of its own. So we're sitting there, and we filmed our scenes. We went to look at the dailies with Ben Stiller, and he looks at the thing, and he goes, I've never filmed anything in one take. And I arrogantly looked back at him and said, well, today you have. And he just started laughing, but it was great. So the rest of the time I'm hanging out, and later on I'm backstage. We were filming it at Medieval Times in Wade Park, and I'm backstage. I'm talking to the special effects coordinator. I wish I could remember the guy's name. He's the one that did Backdraft. Remember, we see the fire come into the room and it gets sucked out and all this stuff. So I was asking him, what are you doing on this movie? Cable Guy's not a lot of special effects here, and he just kind of rubbed his fingers together like, money's money, right? Because what you do the hard stuff every once in a while, and then you do the easy stuff, right? You get paid for it. You get paid the same amount. So it's just awesome. So he turned around, and Jim Carrey comes walking backstage, go to the bathroom or something like that, and that special effects coordinator looks at me and he goes, oh, man, you got to F with him. You got to totally F with him, because he saw the whole scene when he was saying Red Knight's going down, and me and him have been talking about it, and I go, okay. So Carrey comes walking back there, and I go, hey, asshole. So what's this all about? Red Knight's going down? Who the hell do you think you are? So I took him and pinned him up against the wall, and he's like, oh, shit. And I gave him a big old hug. I go, no, I'm just F with you, man. I said I thought it was funny. And so he goes, oh, my God.
Jim Carrey against the wall.
Against
Is that
the
what
wall.
you're telling me?
Yeah. And
Look at this guy.
Then I gave him a hug.
Give me some.
See, there you go, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, buddy.
yeah, so I sit there and I turned around and he was like, oh, my God. He goes, dude, I've been so intimidated by you. He goes, I didn't know if I'd come talk to you. He goes, I didn't know. And Jim Carrey's cool as hell. I mean, he's a great guy. And he goes, I didn't know, I don't want to bug you or do anything. It seems like you're pretty focused on what you're doing. I go, this is your movie. You're making a lot of, he goes, I'm under so much stress. He goes, I thought you were going to beat my ass. And the guy, he's starting to think, he's trying to calculate out, like, what's going to happen here? Like, oh, my God, right?
Yeah, we're all humans, right?
Right.
I mean, he's got emotions. He's got...
Yeah, regardless of the amount of money you're making, right? And stuff.
Absolutely.
And so it was kind of interesting because he's sitting there, he's looking at me. He goes, I just didn't know if I could come talk to you.
Wow.
Okay, you're Jim Carrey. I'm just, who am I? I'm John Ferdinand. Who's that?
And
stuff like that.
You, Jim Carrey.
Right?
Shit.
Yeah, and so they're kind of...
let alone pin you against the wall.
Right.
Spank your butt a little bit.
Yeah, give him a little pinch, just for good measure. But I just thought it was kind of funny because he was sitting there doing that, and I'm like, dude, you can come talk to me anytime you want. You're here and stuff. And it was just kind of fascinating because the way he kind of viewed me, I just thought that was weird because I was like, okay, whatever, dude. So anyway, So the Red Knight thing, the Red Knight's going down. So at the same time, I was actually racing superbikes professionally. So I was road racing, right? Superbikes, stuff like that. And my team colors are red. It's one of my favorite colors. My 1.0 is turquoise. You can see on my ring, I got a tattooed ring here, right? Yeah. Nature's work gloves. Don't do it on the inside. But me and my wife decided years ago we're going to get tattoos for our rings, right? We're not going anywhere. She's an amazing woman, right? And so here I am, my team, Wild Bull Racing and stuff like that. Well, I started getting sponsorships because people knew of the Red Knights going down. They actually produce, I think you still get online, you get stickers, you get T-shirts, and things like this says the Red Knights going down, which I think is hilarious. Columbia Pictures told Medieval Times, you can use all the footage. You can use all this stuff for promotion. Medieval Times did not want to do that because they were afraid I was going to get too big. They thought I was going to get bigger than the product because the product is 6 ambiguous knights performing a medieval show, and you have these colors. That's all it is. So you don't want to have to keystone somebody and lock them in like, oh, he's Medieval Times. And it was run by Spanish people at the time. So as I rolled my eyes. But anyways, it was just kind of interesting that it took a life of its own. Like I said, I got sponsorship off that. I didn't even realize, because you're on the starting grid and you're revving your bike and get ready to get up there to the starting line, right? And, normally you get your bike up to about 8,000 RPMs back in the day and get it running. It's back in the 90s. And finally my family told me at one point, they're like, do you realize they're introducing you as a Red Knight now? I'm like, what are you talking about? They said, yeah. They said they always introduce you as number 23, the Red Knight, John Ferdinand. And that's what I get known as in my racing career, was the Red Knight. And I just was like, okay, and so I just use it. Obviously, use any, like, you're a business owner, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Whether it's good or bad, it's all promote. Like they said back in the old days as an actor, it's like, yeah, whatever it is, right?
All news is good news.
All news is good news. Keep people emotional. That's all you got to do.
That's interesting. Wasn't there a famous bull named
Ferdinand the Bull? And it was funny because we were up on that ridge trail today. I finally went up to Cats. This is my 50th anniversary, by the way. I've come to Ouray, Colorado, and thank you for building this place. This is amazing. So this place is awesome. Yeah. Yeah, back in I think it was best in 1973. My dad was a salesman for a company, and his territory is Montrose and up through this area, and he kind of quote unquote discovered this area on one of his trips. Instead of taking the long way around or anything else, he came up through Ouray and just fell in love with it. So we used to come up here regularly, and I told you about the different hotels we'd stay at. Now I stay at the Matterhorn, which is absolutely awesome. People are great there, love them. But we've done the campground, we've done all these different places, and so I've been regularly trying to come here every single year that I can for the last 50 years, and seeing the evolution portion of it and stuff. And it is nice to have the nice eateries like me and you were talking about and stuff, and not having the Subways and McDonald's and all those other things that are out here. I'm so glad that I do not want to see that in the city ever. I mean, it's just I don't own the city, but it's close to my heart, and stuff like that. You find realism. It's real food, real stuff, real people, doing this stuff. And, it's funny, like hiking that rim trail that I was up there by the Cascade Falls. And I just remember my one thought was I had a young Shetland sheepdog at the time, and I was so afraid he was going to fall off the trail. And all of a sudden I had that back in my head. Here I am 50 years later going, oh, my God, here's my dog, worrying about him falling off the trail. And so it's kind of funny. But, man, I love this place. I've loved it forever. It's been close to me for so many years and stuff.
50 years? You don't even look 50 years old.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You've been coming here since you were young?
Yeah, I'm 56 now. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be 57 this year, so I'm still trying to stay active.
So your parents got you out here when you were...
Oh, yeah. We live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so, like I said, we'd come out here like that, and ever since, no matter where I've lived, we've always tried to come back this way. My buddy here, last time I brought him through here was 15 years ago. But I've been coming back regularly ever since and stuff. I've seen the evolution of this place, yeah.
Albuquerque's a huge fighting city for the UFC.
Yeah.
Jackson, Winklejohn, Jim.
Oh, yeah.
And you did fighting scenes in movies. Did you ever work with any of those locals out there?
No, we have the UFC headquarters there in Las Vegas, the international headquarters there. The only time the closest I'd ever gotten, it's kind of funny talking about fighting. So Tito Ortiz.
Yeah.
So he showed up to Medieval Times as a guest with his girlfriend, whoever she was at the time. She was a really good-looking girl. And, of course, me being the rogue Green Knight, because the Green Knight was the bad guy. So, of course, he was sitting there trying to run his mouth, and I kept running it back. Because at the end of the night, he came up to me. We used to have to do meet and greets where you have to go up. Like, I love performing. I just didn't love the other aspects of it. Like, I didn't love having to, it was really weird to have people ingratiate on you. To say, oh, my God, you're so wonderful, and stuff like that. So it's a little weird for me, but we were required to go up and do a meet and greet and talk to people, get a stein of beer, whatever, and you go talk to people, sign autographs and all that fun stuff. But I got up there and I was kind of looking around, and sure enough, he came up behind me, tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around, he goes, I'd have beat your ass right now. And he was a big dude, right? I'm pretty big too, right? And he goes, man, I've never had anybody run on me like that. Never. I told him, I said, there's somebody sitting in that same seat every freaking night saying, running their mouth. I said, my repertoire goes deep, dude. And I had a whole bunch of stuff I could just tear you into, especially when you had your girl sitting there and I'd just get in on, oh, hey, baby, when you come with you to give her a flower and all this other stuff. And you just get into all kinds of things to get people spun up.
Take your girl tonight, boy.
Oh, yeah, the whole thing. I mean, there's things I did. There's one time we had our black and white night was the Reverend and Pious night. Well, of course, we had some nuns show up. I mean, the full habits, the whole thing and stuff. And they sat them in the black and white section. I'm fighting no black and white night. And at one point, we're doing this ball and chain, sword fight and all this other stuff. And I kicked the knights at their night. There's one point where I knock him down, throw my shield at him, and then I go kick him in the face. Well, I kick him in the face. He flips over on his back, and I look at them and did the Jesus pose. And people were like, they started going, oh my God! They started crossing themselves. I mean, just the rat stuff you would get away with at that time and stuff. And just there's nothing. I love our U.S. Marines. Don't get me wrong, but there was one time these guys were in the opposite section from me. And so I'm riding my horse up bike. I'm still in my motorcycle mode. But anyways, I rode my horse up. And here's these guys, and they're all booing me. There's 250, 300 Marines, and they're going off on this whole thing, right? And I ride up and go, hey, hold on a second. And they all kind of got all quiet. They're in the opposite section. I go, nice to see the Navy got you here in one piece. Oh, my God. I thought they were going to come over the rails and stuff. And I was like, oh, here we go. Yeah, it was just kind of funny. But we had some good times. I mean, it was fun. It was painful at times, but it was fun. But filming that movie was great. Jim Carrey is fantastic.
Well, another day in Ouray, Colorado. Just the people you meet.
Just never know.
Always.
Well, you left your door open, so it's your fault. This is what wanders in, okay? Yeah.
Door's always open. Hell yeah, come on in.
We have a lot of interesting folks that come through this town. This is not a town that people will automatically show up in. It's a town.
It takes some effort to get here.
It takes some effort to get here.
Yeah.
And it's usually very interesting people that
And I love having the conversations with the guests and the tourists that come in. It's super exciting.
No, it's cool. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a lot of fun. This is great, man.
Yeah, it's fun.
This couldn't get any better sitting on this rooftop and stuff. So thank you guys for including me. Man.
Yeah.
I appreciate the hospitality. I mean, that's what's great about this
Very
town.
cool.
The hospitality is always nice. So thank you guys.
Yep.
Really
We do this
awesome.
We're really
podcast every
blessed to
Sunday.
live here.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
I work up here. I bartend
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah, I saw you. I saw you having to take a break every once in a while. I was
Not
like,
me. No, break. I don't get those.
I know, exactly. A slave driver. Yeah. You're like, I knew I had a job, but I didn't know I was going to work. It's BS, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll totally be rocking out this podcast every Sunday. It's a good way to connect with folks when they don't come in the winter. And we can share what the town's doing, because we get a lot of questions from folks that come in. They're like, what do you guys do here? How do you live here year-round? What happens in the winter? And it's like, well, the winter gets ghost townish, and we have to come up with our own entertainment. So this will be a good way to do that.
Yeah, true. Well, you got that ice climbing thing too, right?
Yeah, ice climbing comes in February, like end of January, early February, somewhere around there.
Snowboarding starts on Thanksgiving.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and they're adding a lift to the Silverton Ski Resort, I heard.
Wow.
So there's going to be some extra outdoor activities going on this winter.
That's cool. That's one thing on my 50 years I have to say. You take a corner off my man card. I've never been here during the winter. I've been here when it's snowing, but never talk about dead of winter.
Dead of winter?
Yeah.
Come see us during when they open the ice park. The ice festival is a cool time to be here.
Yeah, that's what I heard, man. Latest I've been here is like late October, and it's been snowing.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely. I mean, no matter when you see this place, it's just
You should
incredible.
come here for New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve is amazing. We do fireworks.
That would be cool.
And we do fireworks from the rooftop, so you'd be up here watching the fireworks.
That's awesome.
It is a magical time to be in this town. It's like a little snow globe. It's like Christmas town. It's amazing.
Oh, that's really, really cool, man. Like I said, thank you guys.
Hey, thanks for joining us, John.
Yeah, thanks for the
Appreciate it.
cocktail.
Yep.
It's awesome. Yeah, thank you guys.
Stick around. We got some more questions for you, John. Huh?
Yeah,
You going to hang out with your homies? What are we doing?
I don't know. What are you guys doing?
All right. I got some segments here. All right. AI. We were talking about AI.
Yep.
Have you seen some of that art?
I have.
Some of the art they can make?
I'm trying to figure out how I can use it for my own good or my own evil.
We're going to feed me something. Something in your mind right now. You want to see cool biker? What do you want to see? We're going to post it on our page. We're going to show the people, because this AI art is, I feel like I've done something. I will just type
Do you
something
do
in.
do you do a lot of AI?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll type something in. I'll do some, some settings, and then, bam, this amazing piece of art comes out that would take me hours and hours and hours to do. But I
Right.
don't care. It's one in the world. I feel like I did it. Some of these will let you print out a shirt. I have a shirt with my own original one-of-one AI art on it.
That's cool. That's really cool.
It's really cool. So, what are you picturing? What's in your mind? Something beautiful.
I know. I'm trying to think, because I'm in such travel mode right now. I'm trying to think something that inspired me that I was looking at, because they just they're getting ready to open up that Madison Square Garden Sphere in Las Vegas. Got all those LEDs all over it, and they've been, everything from the Death Star to a weird giant eyeball to all kinds of
You
stuff.
can get on
To, like,
YouTube
that
and watch a
error
20-minute
code.
video.
Insane.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's just and it's causing traffic problems.
Oh, I bet.
It's just insane around that thing. People are like nuts for that, but. And U2's going to come open it, but I'm trying to think off the top of my head, like what I mean, because I've been on this trip, I've been in such a nature mode that this is enough. Like seeing nature is enough, right? And then how do you improve on nature? So that's what I'm trying to think. Like I was trying to the only thing I could do is think of, because I have my own logo. I'll have to bring one of my stickers back. Actually, I have my Wild Bull Vintage stickers put on the thing here or something, but it's just kind of interesting. I'm thinking, okay, because I had a guy design me that bull, and it's a charging bull that represents everything, right? You're moving forward, doing stuff, the power, strength, and all these other things. And off the top of my head, that's the only thing I think of is like come up with some cool looking bull, because I've used bull skulls, but this is a full bull. I'll have to bring it back by here later on tonight. I'll try to get it back by here, but. No, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I don't know. Like I said, I'm so
it's
embedded
a
in
bull.
all the
What does
natural
it have?
stuff.
It's got flaming eyes. Where is it?
No, it's
Stadium?
like I said, I'll have to bring it back. It's I don't know if I have a picture. Hey, Steve, let me see my phone. I think I got it on there. I'll show it to you.
No, it's right up in here.
I know. Well, it
In your
is
mind,
up
tell
in
me.
there. I got to
We're
dig
making
through my-
AI art. Bull riding.
I know. Well, I'm trying to show you. There you go. Back in the day, look at that. No gladiator fights and stuff.
Hey,
That's
the
him.
Red
That's
Knight.
him. I'm getting ready to slit his throat, and I just killed Rick Springfield.
I love it.
Yeah, he was working at the show called EFX, and old Rick Springfield. I would show up every weekend to rehearse these fights we're going to do for that event. Clark County was paying us to come in there and perform, and Rick Springfield looked at me. Now, mind you, when I first started dating my wife, I was 12 years old. She was 13, so it's been a long time, right? And she had a Rick Springfield poster above her bed when I first started dating her. Well, here all these years later, he's the EFX show. He's a stuntman over there at the EFX show. And Rick Springfield keeps seeing me, and he's a nice guy. And he keeps going, man, what's the deal, John? You keep coming. You like this show so much? And I go, no, Rick. it's you that I like. I think you're just amazing. I need to tell you this. And he freaks out. He goes, man, you're being all weird. And I go, no. I said, I come out every weekend because we're training to be gladiators, doing these gladiator fights and stuff like this. And he goes, oh, my God. He goes, when I was a kid in Australia, I used to take bubblegum wrappers and make chain. I go, no, you're being weird, dude. He goes, no, I used to make these chainmail things, and it was great. I always wanted to be a gladiator. I'm like, okay, dude, whatever. And he goes, can I perform with you guys? What? You're Rick Springfield, like seriously? And he was like, no, I've always wanted to be a gladiator. So all right. So Steve trained him to do about 4 or 5 strikes. So we had this thing. This is right before, kind of right in the same period when Gladiator came out, right? And we had already done this fight several times, but then Gladiator came out, so everybody kind of knows that genre, right? So we used to do a thing called John the Butcher. So it'd be me versus 10 or 12 people. Well, no, sure enough, Rick Springfield came out, and he was one of the guys. He's one of the 12 people I killed. So, and you never heard 1,000 women scream so loud because they all freaked out when I killed him because I guess they thought he was going to win. I'm like, do you know who I am? Are you kidding me right now?
So was it staged? You knew who was going to win?
Yeah, of course.
Shannon, do you even know who Rick Springfield is?
I say that's
some
the
sort
other
of
thing, right?
some sort of acoustic musician that's
Acoustic?
really great, and
There you
he's
go.
like famous and.
He still performs. He's still out there in the world doing his thing. But yeah, that's what's funny. You ask the younger generation. I like right now. I do tours. Like I work for Pink Jeep Tours in Las Vegas. Right, I do all these adventure tours.
Yeah.
And I'll mention people on my John Wesley Powell. I'll mention that. Now that's way back. That's 1869, right? But then I get up to the Pathfinder. I get up to John C. Fremont. They don't know who he is and stuff like that. And then I mention Clark Gable. People do not know who Clark Gable. And this is going to be a shocker because you walk right down to that outlaw right down to one of your competitors, right? You walk down there, but friends, right?
Oh, totally.
You go down there, the John Wayne hats in there.
We got
right?
our
Yeah.
breakfast from there today.
Right?
We're not
We did.
competitors.
Yeah,
We love
Allie's
them.
amazing. Allie,
Yeah.
Allie owns the Outlaw, and she rocks
Awesome,
it out.
right?
It is one of the best restaurants in town.
So I mentioned, this is going to be sacrilege, and everybody's going to puke a little bit, but I mentioned John Wayne, and people go, who?
What?
No way.
Oh, I am not kidding you. I literally want to stop the truck. We have these big old trekkers. They're all painted pink.
Yeah.
And I literally want to stop and get out and grab a rock and hit him in the head. I'm like, how do you not know who John Wayne is? Like, seriously right now. But people just, they don't know.
You come
They
down
just
to
do
Ridgeway,
not
Colorado.
know.
You see where the true
Yep.
grit was
True
filmed.
Grit.
Bam. Come on down.
Yeah, it was here.
Yeah.
It was Ridgeway and Uray.
Yep.
There was like the courthouse here in Uray was
Yep.
part of it.
And I showed him yesterday because that the mercantile, the green on the
Yeah,
wall that's
yeah.
inside the True Grit Cafe. So I was telling him about that and to show him the park there where they did the hanging, where the livery stables were, and all that stuff. And it's just amazing the things that people don't know. Everybody's face value. Everybody's, you guys are talking about McDonald's. Well, I'll tell you this: we're in the McDonald's society now. Everything has to be instant gratification. Like I come to sit down at your restaurant. I want you to prepare the food, but I want you to take your time. I want you to do it right, right?
Talk to you.
Yeah,
You're one of the few, brother.
Well, and
most of them sit down and they're like, "Where's my water? Where's my drink? And
Right.
the food
Yeah.
too that I didn't order yet? Where is
No,
it?"
you're absolutely right. I mean, it's interesting the way we grew up, right? It's
Yeah.
like with the phenomenon that most folks from Colorado are Cubs fans, and you have to like, why
Yeah,
are we
interesting.
Cubs fans?
Yeah.
Because we didn't have our own baseball team growing up, for one,
Yep.
and for two, WGN only
Bam.
played Cubs games.
That's what I was going to
So
say. Yep.
growing up, I'm a Cubs fan.
What's the first game? The first games I ever saw. So we moved to Napa, California, wine country.
Yeah.
My dad had cable installed in our house in 1978. The guy, this is the first house he'd ever done. He drilled through the wall, hit the hot water heater, flooded the whole living room. Right. So you get cable, but I could come home every day and guess what I go to watch? Oh, Harry Carey.
Harry Carey,
Yeah,
man.
watching him and Steve Stone doing the Cubs games. That was the first. You could watch those all
That
day
was the
long.
best
Oh, it's
entertainment we had
awesome.
as kids, right?
Yeah, it was
It was
awesome.
after school specials and Cubs games.
Yeah.
That was about all we had.
I guess that's why they call me Whiskers, because
Yeah.
I'm curious like a cat.
Yeah. If you're a hot dog and you're hungry, would you eat yourself? Yeah. Oh, it was great. Harry Carey getting his cocktails going, man. That was freaking awesome.
Oh, it's so great.
But yeah, that's what we all grew up with, right? And so, like, going back to the John Wayne thing, and I'm just like, I
Yeah.
said, I've mentioned several times, is fast food society. Everybody wants instant gratification, which
Totally.
means you need that hamburger within 3.8 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Well,
like,
the internet did that to us, right? So
Right?
the internet did where you get on your phone and you have access to more information than anybody else has in our society, in the history of our society.
Yeah.
It's right there on your phone.
and you spend time on TikTok and Instagram,
Yeah.
looking at funny videos. Well, this phone right here that I'm holding, this was this iPhone 14 or the hell it is.
Yeah.
This has more computing power in it than they did to go to the moon.
Totally.
I'm like,
Well, but it's
how is
also
that?
taught people to not have any manners.
Oh,
You know, with,
oh my
with
God.
my entire business is phone calls.
Yeah.
And it used to be known that you would call the business 9 to 5, Monday
Right.
through Friday.
Good luck with that.
I get a phone call Sunday at 5:45 in the morning.
Yeah, that's okay.
And it's
right?
like, hey, Kenny, can you do my carpets over at the...
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's just that human quality of like, First of all, everybody wants to be famous. So this is part of the problem. I'm sure you
the
see
internet made everybody famous.
Oh, everybody did, right? And I'm trying hard not to be famous. So thank you for having me on the podcast. But it's just kind of interesting. That's why I was reluctant, because it's like I love the acting part of it and all this other stuff, but the other part of it, is I never gravitated to like, hey, everybody, look at me. That guy, there's a guy recently just carved his girlfriend's initials in one of the stones there at the Coliseum.
Yeah.
I was trying to, because that's I want to be famous.
Let's just establish that it was a Canadian.
Yeah, right. And you're like, okay, nobody cares who you are, dude.
Right.
Nobody cares who you are. And you know what? That Coliseum is much greater than all of us. It's going to be there after I die. It's going to be there after a lot of people do go along. And it's
I
one
feel
of
like the internet did that, right? And it
of
made all
course.
these like people think that they're special. And there was we were just watching this documentary about the. That dude that worked in the oil fields in Denver, they killed his whole family. Not to
I
go
didn't hear
super
that.
dramatic.
Yeah.
But you watch the documentary, and the wife had recorded every minute of their existence.
Oh
like the
my
whole
God.
documentary was
No
their
wonder he
life.
killed her.
And it was like, who are these people that think that they need to record everything? Like, can't you just live life? Why do you have to
Nope.
show it to someone else? Why
Well, because
is that
everything's
important?
drama. Everything's drama, right? Like you wonder why people get so. It's kind of funny. I was telling my buddy earlier as we were doing our hike, we were waxing philosophical, right? And I said it's funny because people make the easy things difficult, and they want the difficult things to be easy. And it's like that's because back in the day, like you're preparing food, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, that's what you spent all day doing.
All day.
All day was preparing food and getting ready for the next day. And of course, I'd be out hunting, getting that food, or getting it out of the fields, or doing whatever I could, because that's what you did, protecting your family, doing all this stuff, going back to ancient times. And they always say, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I'm a toxic masculine. That's a caveman, right?" But what you do is you spend all day preparing food. That's what you did, and protecting things and stuff like that. Now you're like, "Oh, I got to go to McDonald's. If I don't have like I said, if I don't have that hamburger in my hand in 3.8 seconds, somehow my life's failure." Like on my tours, I go to the Grand Canyon quite a bit, right? The Grand Canyon West, the Hualapai Indian. Hualapai are people of the tall green pines.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you go out there and I do this thing, and no matter where you see the Grand Canyon from, it's amazing.
Right.
But I go out there, and at one time I looked online just to look on some things there at the Hualapai Indian Reservation, and somebody had put a Yelp
Yelp review.
review
Of the canyon.
of the canyon, 3.5 out of 5 stars. What?
Not
and
impressed.
I've seen people putting Yelp reviews for campgrounds and things like at your restaurant. If they came here and you didn't have the proper Wi-Fi,
Right.
they're going to knock you down because you didn't have the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
I'm like, take a look around this valley. Really? Seriously?
Come on in and have the cup of coffee that one Yelper rated as the
Oh,
worst cup they ever
The worst
had.
cup they ever had. I love that so much. Yeah, no, it's
You
an
can
interesting
use that.
thing, right? Where Yelp makes sense potentially in a highly competitive market in the cities, makes no sense in the mountains. And it's absolutely true. We get 2-star, 1-star reviews for not being open at noon on a
Right.
Monday. And it's like, okay, I get that, but at the same time, look at where you are. We have a limitation of staff. We have a limitation of resources. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't going to be an 8 to 5 consistent Monday through Friday schedule, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're
Come
going to
on
open
down.
when we can.
Get working.
Yeah.
You want to see the change in the world? You better make it.
That's right.
Get in there.
Look in the
Work.
mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
John, you weren't here earlier, but I raised this boy in a yurt and a teepee.
I heard you say something about a yurt, and I was
Yeah.
wondering because we've stayed in yurts on our adventures, and I lightly heard when we were eavesdropping but having our own conversation.
Sure.
So we were trying to be quiet.
But
so we could get
living
into this,
in one,
but- yeah.
going back to something you were saying a little bit earlier, the first 2 hours of every day of my life
Yeah.
was creating heat
Right?
for my kids.
Yeah.
You were talking about making food all day long.
The primitive style.
Absolutely. It was, I would get up at 4 and start getting the fires going. I had a wood stove
Yeah.
on each side of the yurt and getting them going so that by the time I would get these guys up at 6:30 to start getting ready for school,
Yep.
heating water
Yeah.
on the wood
basic
stove.
necessities everybody takes for granted.
I bought one of these little tubs,
Yeah.
Shannon and I had a composting toilet that we had to walk through the snow
oh
to
my
get
God.
to.
How did you live?
But for my daughter, I bought
For
her a
11
chamber
years.
pot. The daughter got a chamber pot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was hers only, right?
What
You
a great
remember
way,
that?
what a great way to live.
It was amazing.
We've been talking about this whole trip because we've been out camping in the backcountry, and I have numerous injuries from all my years from racing, from stunts. I mean, I've been paralyzed. I've had my shoulder reconstructed. I've had my knee surgery. I've had things broken and torn and things like that. And you know what you do? You make do. It's like what you can sit there and crawl up in a ball and cry about it, but it's like you're living in that yurt. That's okay. That seems normal to me. And most people are like, okay, if I'm slumming, I'll go to a 3-star. Outdoors to me is sitting on a veranda like this, having a drink, And I have friends like that, and I try to tell them about all these wonderful places that I go in the backcountry, and you see all these places. I mean, we've camped some amazing places, had the whole place ourselves, because people just aren't with us. I don't know if society's gotten soft or what it is, but that's not living soft. But you also taught your kids something. Me and him were talking about that because every day you got him taught him something every single day. And these days now you hand your kid off to daycare or you hand your kid off, worse thing, to the school and stuff like that. Because I always say on my tours too, because I think it's interesting. You get a book education, which I highly recommend, right? Go get your book education. But like Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain said, he goes, you get a real education by traveling the world and meeting people and being in cultures and experiencing things. And that's how you actually get an education of all this stuff,
Didn't he have a quote about traveling and ending bigotry as well?
That's part of that quote. Yeah, I'm bastardizing
exactly.
it, but it's basically like that's how you take away ignorance.
Yeah.
You take away ignorance, the more you learn, the more you travel.
That's been the topic of this podcast, really, is how we've expanded our personal experience with our perspective with traveling.
Yep.
And seeing the other way.
Seeing other things. Well, I'll tell you this. My older boy, he got his degree from college. He was a business degree. He didn't want to sit behind a desk. So he wanted to serve our U.S. military is what his plan was, right? Now in Boulder City, Nevada. Boulder City, Nevada was the city that was built to house the workers to build the Hoover Dam.
Okay.
Eventually became Hoover Dam, right? It's the Boulder Canyon Project. Well, anyways, it's a great city. Still there to this day. You'd love it. You actually put a restaurant there and probably be very successful because the downtown area is just second to none. It's just awesome. Kind of like this, but its own way,
What
right?
branch was this that you joined?
Well, he wanted – so there's a lot of ex-Navy SEALs that are retired in Boulder City. So he reached out to those Navy SEALs, and they'll train you. They'll train you to be a Navy SEAL. Then they'll say, hey, out of the recommendation, they'll go to the military and say, this is a really good guy, and then you sign your contract. You don't already have to be in the branch, right? So he did all this. He knocked it all out, got to the last thing. But one of the things me and his mother told him, listen, you're going to have to travel the world because not everybody thinks like United States citizens think.
Right.
What we think is important to us, the brass rings that we think, are not important to most people in the world, like that preparation of food. You travel to third world countries and different things like that.
Yeah.
People are trying to make do, and plus people aren't looking to be the Kardashians. Nothing
Right.
against Kardashians, but that's
They're
that
surviving.
drama thing, the whole thing, right?
Right.
And I think it's funny because we said travel the world and understand what people are, who they are, and so that. Well, he got to the end of the training. He couldn't pass the colorblind test. Can't be a Navy SEAL. So I got him in my industry. He was a rigger for a while and did theater and all this other stuff. And he thought, no, I don't want to do that. So now he's a police officer. This is my bigger point. He's a police officer in Las Vegas. Now, we've heard all the things all over the country. Now, some people do it right. And some people do it wrong.
It's a
and we
tough
know
job,
those
right?
situations.
We can all agree on that.
It is, but it doesn't mean as a police officer, even when it's tough, that you do something stupid, right? And we know that. Now, there's people trying to do it right. One of them, I looked to my son. And I'll tell you, Las Vegas Metro, one of the highest trained places. If something happens anywhere in the country, they review that, go over with their officers, and oftentimes send training representatives all over the country to do this. So they want to do it right because we're a transient city in Las Vegas, very transient. You get people from all over the world, which means you get a lot of different thought patterns and all this other stuff coming to Las Vegas. You got to deal with a lot of stuff. Well, I'll tell you this right now. My son speaks 4 languages. He's been all over the world. He's been to Africa. He's by himself. Flew to Jordan. The little bastard beat me to Petra. Flew to Jordan by himself. I'm on Jordan. Rented a car. Went out to Wadi Rum. Went out to Petra and got there. Spent 4 days in Petra and all this stuff. But the bigger point is he's been to Asia. He's hiked the Great Wall of China, all this stuff. But he speaks 4 languages and he's been able to diffuse that's a big word, right? Diffuse things,
right?
Because he's eliminated
experience.
And it's not he was an ignorant person. He's not. But he's diffused that because he understands the world, understands people, understands what things are and how people react to things. So it's made him a better police officer.
Absolutely.
And he's tried to extend that knowledge to other people. And that's what you look for in life is like, I've been in situations. I've been in narco towns. I've been in bad places in the world. Sure. I've come across some things. In my experience, my personal experience, people ask me, what's your opinion? And all I can say is, here's my experience. My experience in the world, most people are great. And they want to help each other out, and they want to have great expectations and see things and enjoy things together. Every once in a while, you do run across some people. And you have to deal with it, and so I just deal with it. But people ask me all the time when I travel the world, did you feel threatened? Did you feel you feel like you had security? I'm like, I'm 6'2", 225 pounds. People don't poke this bear. They usually look for easier.
Unless
projects.
they're looking for
and they're also
right?
more likely to say, aren't you the country that we read about a mass murder every single day of the year?
You people are violent,
and you think we're the problem?
Yes,
it's all perspective, and it's all the news that people get and their worldview, right?
Yeah.
Is it new?
So what is that? Is that just
Can you hear this?
Yeah, that's.
So that bell right now that you guys are hearing is we have a volunteer fire department in Ridgeway and Ouray.
Gotcha.
And so this bell, we have this in Ridgeway and Ouray. So it has a different kind of message depending on how many times it goes. So if it goes 3 times, that means all hands on deck. Everybody that's able can.
That happened last night.
Yeah, there was a wreck probably. Or
gotcha.
It's either usually a wreck on the highway or it's like somebody in the river. But it's,
I don't remember this from. I mean, obviously you shut things out from your childhood, right? but I just don't. I was trying to remember back. Like I don't remember hearing that.
This bell goes off every day at noon. It's our noon bell. But then outside of that, it goes off with emergencies. And right now is a good plug for Adams, who is our fire chief here in Ouray. We appreciate you guys very much. And then Ridgeway, we have Chris Miller, who runs the Ridgeway operation. We appreciate you firefighters and all your volunteers. Keep us safe.
That's awesome, man.
I mentioned earlier we took Grandma out to breakfast today. It was the pancake breakfast fundraiser for the fire department.
Oh, I love the pancake breakfast with the firefighters.
Nice.
I want to tell a fun story. Last year, we were hiking with my two youngest sons, and they were doing their very first 14er.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It was their first one ever, and we did it. We had camped over the weekend. We're coming home, and we pull into town, and they see that it's the Ridgeway Arts and Crafts Festival. And the boys go, "What? We missed the pancake breakfast today?"
Not
and
the
we're
hike.
going, we just did a 14er. Oh, they were flipping out. We do this every year. We do that. And it's like, hey, tomorrow's Sunday. They're doing it again. Yeah, but we do it both days.
Both days.
You try so hard, right?
Tradition.
Yeah, try
It
so
is.
hard.
And the
good
fire
thing.
department here is great because they'll do that pancake breakfast, but they also do the chili cook-off in the fall. And
Yes.
that's
Bama
right,
likes to insert himself and be the winner every year, but I don't know if anybody actually likes his chili.
It's tradition.
agree upon
Tradition.
that, right?
Yeah. Usually, no, you got to vote for me.
Yeah,
you gotta-
exactly.
Well, I'll tell you this. You know what? They did a good job because you look around, all these buildings from the 1870s and 1880s are still standing to this day.
That's true.
And there's a lot of old places I travel through. That isn't the norm. They've rebuilt some places because of the fire. So
We've been very blessed in this county for sure.
yeah.
They definitely started off with a good image of how they were going to do things, and
yeah,
it's standard to this time, which is very nice.
yeah, it's awesome, man.
And there must be some sort of code around how to build around here, right? You know anything about that, Jer?
I think we should invite Mike Gill next time we have a podcast and have him talk about how he's our building code guy
that's
here
cool.
for the county, and just let him talk about how he manages limited resources and old buildings and new code and that kind of fun thing.
Hey, we're running out of time, but I wanted to ask Shannon another question, if you don't mind.
Good.
He's the guy that was born and raised here. He
Born
went
and
to
raised.
school right here in Ouray,
Yeah.
and then he left. And then years later, he came back. So I'm kind of curious what that experience is like coming back years
Coming
later.
back to your area is like sweet, sweet peace and freedom. That's all it is. Anywhere else? Man, I went to Paonia, Colorado, which is only a couple hours down the road north. And very different place. It's amazing how different places can be so close regionally, but so different culturally. Yeah, that place was a nightmare, really.
It's like a retirement town, and it's honestly, I used to call it the deer honey hole because it didn't take a lot of preference points to get a deer tag in Paonia, but it's the most deer I've ever seen on public grounds.
Well, it's like we went through Dolores the other day, and it's different. The first thing that came, I've been to Dolores a whole bunch of times, but it's just kind of interesting because my first thought was Letterkenny. You guys ever watched Letterkenny?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, isn't that awesome? Allegedly. Yeah.
It's a hippie
You
town.
got to start selling puppers, right?
Right.
Yeah, it is. It's very. I mean, all the Colorado places are mostly outdoorsy. It's kind of cool. Different way of life, which is good. It's good. Not everybody's supposed to be the same. One of the things I travel, and I remember going to Atlanta years ago, and I wanted that old down home feeling of Atlanta, and it's just a big city. It's just cosmopolitan city like anywhere else and stuff. And you have to go to the outlying areas, the small towns. Like when we travel on these bikes, I don't get on the main slab. The only place we got on the main slab was the 15 because we had to get around. We went around Lake Mead actually. Didn't even follow through Vegas. It's crazy. When I first moved to Vegas, I parked my motorcycle. What do you
Did
say?
you ever, are you a Rush fan, Neil Peart?
You know how many
drummer of
times
Rush?
I've seen Rush in concert?
Yeah.
Like that, you talk about the world's greatest drummer. Nothing against anybody else, but he had the acoustic drums and he had the digital drums, and he used to do the spinning thing.
Yeah.
So back in the day when I was in college, I'm sorry guys, I could talk forever. But back in the day, when I was in college, one of the other careers I had was being a bodyguard and security. So all the old Hollywood stars, I've shook Sinatra's hand. I've done all these things. I mean, I've met Michael Jackson, all these other people, right? But it's just funny because watching Rush, I had the privilege of seeing them over 20 times in different concerts that they came through and stuff. The few years that I did that, and I tell you, and a wonderful guy. But yeah, I know all the motorcycle travels.
His motorcycle travels.
Unfortunately, he lost his son.
Yeah,
and he went through a really hard time, and so a lot of people are discovering themselves. Like right now, he's reading the Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance on this trip.
Did a paper on that when I was in 10th grade.
Yeah. And it's weird because everybody's, like I said, I can only tell you what my experience is. Like, see, what's your opinion? Well, here's my experience, right? Because you've lived a different life than I've lived. Obviously, you've lived a different life, and that's amazing. And so it's interesting with him because he's going through that right now. You know, he's kind of looking at that, and he's like, where am I existentially in my life? What's going on? And different things. He has a wonderful family and all this other stuff. At the same time, there's sometimes you just got to look back at yourself, and you're kind of like, you know, he's at that midpoint, or what he says, the 99% point, he's at 50. So, you know, there's certain things that are resonating with him. And there's things when I travel, like when I'm on my motorcycle, it's you know, you're by yourself and you're turning the wheel, and it's just you can get very philosophical when you're traveling by bike, like Neil Peart did. And he was searching for something in himself, because when you're not supposed to lose your kids. My younger son I almost lost 4 times. I almost lost. He has Crohn's disease, and he went through a really bad time. Finally had life-saving surgery. And there were some times I was traveling not to get away, and it wasn't trying to find myself. It's just get a fresh air and get away from it. And the only reason I traveled is I knew he was all right. And those are the times I travel, and God forbid, I don't want to ever lose him. You know, it's not what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, him going through that, it's just like this gentleman right here. He's a wonderful human being, a wonderful man. He's one of the smartest people, best stuntman I've ever worked with. I'll tell you that much. But it's, you know, everything. The road means something different to everybody. Like people saying travel. If we're traveling in a car, you're traveling through an area. If you travel by a motorcycle, you're experiencing the place. You're living the places you're going through.
Right.
And that's a big difference. I think that's why Neil Peart, you know, that meant so much to him. So many people travel with those. Go ahead, sorry.
My son called me, 2 weeks ago? Do you remember what you said?
I said Rush is the best of all time.
Did you just discover him?
My dad has a vinyl album.
What? 1905 called.
Has a vinyl collection, and I was like, Dad, I really hope you have Rush in that vinyl collection, because that's my absolute favorite right now. There's nothing more applicable. When I listen, it just relates.
Because it resonates with you, right? There's something in your life right now that makes
100%.
sense, right?
And I didn't just discover him. My dad played him all the time when I was young.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the beauty of the music and the nature, right? When you talk about the road, it's the beauty of both. Wow, it transcends you, and whatever you're trying to seek out, it tends to like speak to you in that way. Where being up here, it's the same thing for me. Just being in nature and like having to reflect on my choices and myself. This place gives me that power to do that.
Well, yeah, and you made a great choice by building this magnificent structure right here.
Jeremy, let me ask you something.
It's awesome.
Which one's the healer, Percocet or music?
Ooh.
Which one's the healer, Oxycontin or nature?
That's easy, man. The music and nature.
Exactly.
Right? Those are the healers. One's a Band-Aid.
It's easy for you.
One's a Band-Aid.
True.
It's easy for you, and it's probably easy for most residents of Uray County.
Yeah.
It's not easy for everyone in the world.
It's not easy for everyone. No, I think that's the beauty of nature and music, as you're talking about. Like, they don't seem like they could fix anything, but with some meditation and being with yourself and respecting what it is, it can heal things. These pills, man, it's a big problem
They're
up here.
Band-Aids, right?
The Band-Aids. They can fix it right now, but the destruction that happens after.
Oh, my God.
The torment that comes from like taking that easy out, you pay for it. Oh, yeah. That is not a free ride.
Well, when I was hurt at medieval times and I was hurt doing like stunts and crashing and stuff like that, you know what became readily available? The easy one was Vicodin. Vicodin. They were always willing to hand you Vicodin because it was the Band-Aid, right? And it was kind of interesting because having the Vicodin in my life, I had it. I was doing it, but I would only do 4. That was it. I was doing the Brett Favre thing. You know, I wasn't taking 20 of them a day.
Yeah.
But I would do 4 at the most, 750 milligram. 2 of them at a time. You're talking, you know, that's made
750?
750 milligram. Take 2 of those, right? That'd knock most people on their
That's
backside.
a lot.
It's a lot,
the
right?
10 milligrams will knock you on your ass.
So this is what's amazing about that. Everything still hurt. I just didn't give a shit.
Right.
Just didn't give a shit. And then it got to a point because, you know, the dragon keeps getting farther and farther away, so you pick up this nice libation right here, and you chase it a little bit.
You never give a shit.
No, you never give a shit. And I finally had to get to this point. And he was a big part of that for me. And a drug addict never considers himself a drug addict, right? You never. It's a crazy person doesn't know they're crazy. And I'll tell you this: I had to get to one point. It was starting to affect so many things. I was like going, holy crap. I mean, luckily it didn't affect my family life. It just physically, because I've always been an athlete, a professional athlete. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, and you realize the rabbit hole I dug and that I gone down, I was like, I have to find some other way to get there because through those pharmaceuticals is not the way, stuff like that, and I had to pull
Dude, the
back.
stuff they do to
It
your
is
brain,
not the way. Just to your body, it was horrible and stuff.
I mean, they fill your reward center, but they deplete it at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
They give you
Deplete
this
your soul.
euphoria that's not real.
Yeah.
But they give you depression at the same time.
Yep.
Like, they are a 5-minute reprieve and a 2-hour,
Well, you pay for it for
life.
so many years and stuff, and now I do everything natural. Like I'm not on any medication. My blood works. I mean, you name it. You're talking about 56, maybe 57 years old and stuff like that, and we do it all natural. I did it the hard way to get myself back to my fighting, my fighting area and stuff like that. And he was a big part of that. He hooked me up with a couple of different things. A guy named Dr. John Pierce in Las Vegas there, the smartest man I ever met, just awesome. But his idea, like say you had a high blood pressure.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't want to use a foot long of pharmaceutical. He wants you using a milliliter, like a little half an inch of that and stuff like that. So he's all about natural. Well, that's what we're on. It's kind of funny because we went through our life insurance policies, me and my wife, and the lady comes in and she goes, okay, well, bring out all your medications so I can walk them down. I grabbed a bottle of Crown Royal and I set it on the table, and she started laughing. She goes, that's funny. But I said, no. I said, we're not on anything. And then we did our blood work, 7 pages, and they're like, you guys are the healthiest assholes I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, what is going on here?
That's the downside, though, because I've had that same experience where I go to the doctor and I'm being honest, and then they do my blood work, and they're like, wow, you're super healthy. I'm like, if you saw what I did every day, you wouldn't say
think that same thing. Yeah, you're
Exactly.
like, well, just don't look. Don't look. What is it? The Wizard of Oz. Don't look behind
Don't
the
look
curtain.
at- yeah,
it's that kind of thing. It's
Don't
like,
look a gift horse in the mouth.
believe the fantasy. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
guys. Well, that's about time, and it's been wonderful.
Yeah,
It's
thank
been
you guys.
amazing. And I'm
Canary
taking
Radio.
over Shannon's podcast.
And, well, since
My
this guy,
dad's out of here. He's got a schedule.
Yeah.
But we'll be back with some more, huh?
well, thank you for forcing me.
Thank you.